Hello everyone, my name is Ishan and welcome to the Race Monkey. We finally have a Kia product back in the Race Monkey garage. The first time is when we drove the first generation Seltos during the first drive of this car, and the brand was pretty much brand new in our country. It's been so much time that we haven't touched a Kia product, and it's finally here, and I'm really elated, and I've brought it out on a road trip here to Jaipur. It was more of a work trip, but perhaps I got to explore more of what this new 2024 Kia Seltos has to offer. Now, there's a lot going on in this car. This one in particular is the 1.5 litre TGDI engine, which gets the most controversial gearbox setup, which is the IMT, a manual gearbox without the clutch. And I've been driving this for the last 400 plus kilometers from Delhi till Jaipur and around Jaipur as well. And there are quite a lot of things that I would want to talk to you about this particular car. So without further ado, let's get behind the wheel and talk to you more about it. So we are sitting inside the HTX Plus variant of the Seltos, and it gets a lot of good things on the inside as compared to the base variant or even the GTX and the X line on the top. Now, to start off with, the interior scheme is black and tan interior, which on a personal level I really like. Unlike what the Hyundai Creta gets, which is the sister concern of this car, it does not get a plastic applique over here, and rather you get this leatherette treatment with stitching on top, which just ups the game of the interior in terms of its quality quotient. Now here you get quilted seats as well, which are very supportive and are very comfortable as well. Although you get manually adjustable seats for the passenger, you get electrical adjustable seats for the driver in this HTX Plus variant. You get dual zone climate control system, which is actually quite effective considering we are running at about 35 degrees Celsius today in Jaipur. Although the weather is pleasant, but it's still quite sunny. You get seat coolers for both the passenger and the driver, and you get the works. What you don't get as compared to the GTX Plus or the X-Line variant is the wireless charger over here. You don't get, I don't think so there's anything else that you don't get. That's the only thing. Also, you don't get the traction rotor over here, which basically sets the car from eco to sport mode to normal mode, which I don't think is a major requirement in this segment because this particular car is meant more for commuting and long distance travels. You get a sizable glove box over here where you can accommodate 2 1-liter bottles. You've got enough space in the central cubby to store your knickknacks, and you also have an air purifier which has been installed in this armrest. To tell you all, that air freshener comes from the same company I am a part of. It's called Airlens. Go to airlens.com and buy your air purifiers from there. You get 2 large size cup holders over here, which can accommodate massive bottles that my lady has been kindly carrying around. And that's about it. The entire setup is of what you get in the standard car. So there are a few details in the interiors which I really like, and Kia has done a fantastic job in designing this cabin and putting in those details. To start off with, you have these multi-layered speaker grill over here. The speakers are from Bose and they sound quite good for the price. And at night they have this mood lighting which goes in conjugation to the beats of the music. You have a wonderfully soft armrest on the door card, and you have these multi-layered speaker outlets over here as well. What I'm really thankful, especially in this HTX Plus variant, is the lack of ADAS. Although ADAS is a technology which is ever growing, and it sometimes can save you from a lot of injuries that might happen on the road, especially when you're driving around in Rajasthan, where people are absolutely unorganized in terms of their traffic situation. But it's way too reactive as a technology, and Indian cars are not that potent in terms of how they are calibrated. So the lack of ADAS, a good thing, a bad thing for some, but in my personal opinion, I don't miss it. You get cruise control buttons and audio buttons over here, and the quality of these buttons is really top notch. You get these metallic buttons over here, and everything feels high quality. You have this beautifully soft steering wheel with a flat bottom. The steering is adjustable for rake and reach, which is another great adjustment for the driver. You have ESP off switch over here, and you have these massive 12.25-inch screens for the infotainment and the instruments cluster. And in the instruments cluster, the background changes with respect to the time of the day that you're driving in. At night, you see the stars striking through in the air while you're doing high speeds of about 90, 100 kilometers an hour. And it's absolute joy to see that. But what I solely miss is the lack of wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I just wish that was a standard fitment over here, because the cars like the Volkswagen Virtus and Tiguan get it as standard in India, which is the direct competition to it. But otherwise, this is a very, very well engineered and designed cabin. Something which is almost twice as good as its sister concern, which is the Hyundai Creta. So I enjoy this cabin a lot. So out on the highway, and especially on these B roads that we are driving on from Jaipur to Dausa onwards towards the Delhi-Bombay Expressway, the Seltos feels very comfortable. Now the suspension setup has been tuned slightly and oriented more towards the comfort quotient rather than outright performance-oriented driving, which is a specialty of its competitors, which is the Volkswagen Virtus and the Skoda Kushaq. The way it just glides over bumps and undulated roads, which you see quite often in 90% of the highways in India, the Seltos feels very mature. The ride quality does get a little hampered if the porthole is of a larger size, although the thickness of the tire and the way the damping has been done does take away that harshness as well. But overall, the sense of comfort and the sense of isolation from the bad surfacing of the road has been done really well in the Kia Seltos, and I highly appreciate the engineers who worked very well in calibrating the suspension setup and making it very, very relaxed, especially when you're doing very long distance journeys like I am doing right now from Jaipur back to Delhi. So we are now on the Delhi-Bombay Expressway heading onwards towards Gurgaon from Dausa. Dausa is the place from where you enter on this highway when you drive down from Jaipur. Now we've been driving this car at an average speed of 90 kilometers an hour, ranging between 80 and 100 kilometers an hour. And the last 65 kilometers, as you've seen on the trip computer, we've been averaging 23 kilometers to the liter, which is astonishing for a 1.5 liter turbocharged petrol engine, which produces 160 horsepower. Now, although we are running this car on 95 octane petrol, which is not a very high rated petrol, but it's still better than the normal fuel, this is quite an astonishing number. But I'll be very happy to see if it sustains that fuel economy number after doing at least 100 kilometers more, or perhaps in the next 50-60 kilometers when we touch the 100 kilometer overall drive mark on the trip computer. Still to find out, but just look at the landscape. It's absolutely beautiful outside right now. The sun is setting behind the Aravalis, and there's this gorgeous highway right in front of us. This is probably the best time to travel on this highway. So I've been driving this 2024 Kia Seltos with the 1.5 liter TGDI turbo petrol motor, mated to this wonderful 6-speed IMT gearbox, which essentially is a manual gearbox without the clutch pedal. And in the last 100 plus kilometers of me driving this car over the 1 hour 12-minute period, I've accumulated an overall fuel economy figure of 20.5 kilometers to the liter at an average speed of 100 kmph on this wonderful Delhi Bombay Expressway, which is absolutely smooth and silky to cruise on. The Kia Seltos is actually quite a wonderful cruiser considering it is substantially powerful for its price and size. And now we know that it is very efficient as well. Kudos, Kia.